Just imagine, you are standing on a dry, windswept hilltop in the middle of Turkey. The ground beneath your feet is cracked and golden. The sun is sinking low. The air smells of dust and ancient stone, and then, rising from the earth all around you, massive stone pillars, taller than a man, carved with animals that seem almost alive. Lions, vultures, serpents, foxes, cut into limestone with a precision that should be impossible. And here's the thing that will stop your heart completely. This place is 12,000 years old. That means it was built 7,000 years before the Egyptian pyramids ever existed, 6,000 years before Stonehenge was even begun. And until the year 1994, the entire world had absolutely no idea this place was here. Welcome to Göbekli Tepe, the oldest temple ever discovered on Earth, and the greatest secret hiding inside human history. Who were the people who built this? We are told that 12,000 years ago, humans were simple, primitive, wandering in small groups, chasing animals across open land. So how did they carve 20-ton limestone pillars without a single metal tool? How did they move those pillars across miles of rough terrain without wheels, without pulleys, without machines? How did they coordinate thousands of workers without any government, without any written language, without any system of authority we recognize? And then perhaps the most haunting question of all, why did they bury it? Deliberately, completely, as if they were hiding it from something or someone that terrified them. What were they afraid of? What did they know that we do not? And what else right now, today, is still sleeping beneath that hill, waiting to be found? These are not small questions. These questions do not just challenge history, they break it open at the seams. Because if Göbekli Tepe existed 12,000 years ago, then civilization did not begin where we were told it began. It began somewhere deeper, somewhere older, somewhere we are only now beginning to discover. If you love uncovering ancient secrets that history books were never brave enough to tell you, hit subscribe right now, because on this channel, we go exactly where the textbooks are afraid to go. It began with a shepherd, a Kurdish shepherd, walking a dusty hillside in southeastern Turkey. Sometime in the early 1990s, he kicked what he thought was a rock. But it wasn't a rock, it was the smoothed top of a limestone pillar, buried just beneath the surface of the earth. He reported it. And in 1994, a German archaeologist named Klaus Schmidt arrived at the site. What Schmidt found there would consume the rest of his life and permanently shatter the established story of human civilization. Beneath that quiet Turkish hillside, his team began uncovering circle after circle of massive T-shaped stone pillars, arranged in perfect geometric rings. Each pillar stood between 3 and 6 meters tall. Some weighed over 20 tons. They were placed with precision, with intention, with the unmistakable intelligence of an architectural mind, and carved across their surfaces animals, dozens of species, rendered with extraordinary skill and terrifying detail. Vultures carrying headless human bodies, scorpions with raised tails, coiling serpents, leaping foxes, cranes frozen mid-flight. This was not primitive scratching on a rock. This was art. This was religion. This was civilization 12,000 years ago. Schmidt made a statement that would echo through every archaeology department in the world. First came the temple, then came the city. Everything we thought we knew about the birth of civilization, agriculture first, then cities, then religion, was suddenly reversed. Let us talk about who built this, because this is where the story becomes deeply uncomfortable for mainstream history. The official story of 10,000 BC tells us that humans were nomadic hunter-gatherers, following herds, living in temporary shelters, leaving no permanent mark. No agriculture, no organized settlements, no monumental construction, no complex religion. That is what every textbook says. And yet, here is Göbekli Tepe, standing in defiance of every single one of those assumptions. The builders were organized on a massive scale. They had leadership, they had a shared vision. They maintained that vision across generations. Researchers found no evidence of permanent homes at the site. No kitchens, no storage, no domestic life. Which means This was a gathering place, a sacred destination. People traveled here, possibly hundreds of miles, to build and to worship. Think about what that means. 12,000 years ago, humans were organizing large-scale religious pilgrimages across entire regions, and they were feeding enormous crowds. Researchers found millions of animal bones at the site: gazelle, wild cattle, birds, all butchered and consumed here. This was not a village. This was a ceremonial capital, a center of power, a place where something ancient and deeply human was being expressed. And the people who built it, we still do not know who they truly were or where they ultimately went. Now let us talk about the engineering, because this is where the mystery doesn't just deepen, it becomes almost impossible to accept. The limestone pillars were quarried from bedrock nearby. In the quarry, some pillars still lie unfinished, frozen in time, mid-carving. The largest unfinished pillar is 7 meters long and weighs approximately 50 tons. It was being carved out of living rock using flint and obsidian tools. No metal, no iron, no bronze of any kind. And yet the finished pillars show a level of symmetry and surface precision that would challenge experienced modern stonemasons with modern tools. The T-shape of the pillars is not an accident. Many archaeologists believe it represents a stylized human form, a body, arms held at the sides, a broad, flat head. Some pillars have carved hands, carved belts, carved garments draped across a body. These are not architectural columns. These are beings. They are figures. They are presences. Who or what were the builders depicting in stone? Gods? Ancestors? Guardians? Something that has no name in any language we speak today? And it is not just one circle. There are at least 20 circular enclosures identified across the site. But here is the number that will stop you cold. Only 5% of Göbekli Tepe has been excavated. 95% is still underground. Ground-penetrating radar has already revealed the outlines of enormous buried structures. Structures potentially larger than anything yet uncovered. What is down there? No one on Earth knows, and that uncertainty should fill you with both awe and something very close to fear. Now we arrive at the question that truly haunts this site, the question that no one has been able to fully answer. Around 8000 BC, approximately 2000 years after Göbekli Tepe was first built, it was buried, deliberately, systematically, completely. Enormous quantities of stone, soil, and rubble were used to fill every enclosure, every circle, every carved pillar from base to top. Someone, the builders themselves, or those who came after, sealed this place entirely, and then they walked away. Why would any civilization bury its most sacred and magnificent creation? There are theories. Some say it was ritual, a ceremonial closing of the sacred space, its purpose fulfilled, its chapter complete. Others say it was an act of preservation. The builders buried it specifically so that it would survive, so that it would last, so that one day someone would find it. But there is a third theory, and this one is the one that researchers speak about in quiet rooms and cautious tones, because 8000 BC corresponds almost exactly to a period of catastrophic climate collapse across the ancient Near East. The region was drying out, ecosystems were failing. Something devastating was happening to the world. These people had known for thousands of years. Did they bury their temple to protect it from what was coming? From disaster? From invaders? From an extinction they could feel approaching? And then there is the Vulture Stone, Pillar 43 at Göbekli Tepe. Perhaps the most studied carving in all of ancient history, researchers from the University of Edinburgh published a landmark study, proposing that the carvings on Pillar 43 depict a specific astronomical event, a comet impact. The date encoded in those carvings? Approximately 10,950 BC. This matches almost perfectly with the Younger Dryas, a sudden catastrophic cooling event, a period when global temperatures collapsed, when megafauna went extinct, when rivers froze and forests vanished and the sky itself seemed to turn against life on Earth. Were the builders of Göbekli Tepe survivors of a cosmic catastrophe? Were they carving the memory of that disaster into stone so it would never be forgotten? And when they buried the temple, were they trying to protect those memories from a second disaster they believed was coming? We do not know, and perhaps that is the most unsettling truth of all. Let us step back from the details for a moment. Let us take the full picture in, because what it reveals is breathtaking. We have been taught our entire lives that civilization began in Mesopotamia, in ancient Sumer, around 3500 BC. That is the foundation of every history textbook, every school curriculum, every museum exhibit in the Western world. Göbekli Tepe proves that organized, spiritually sophisticated, architecturally capable human civilization existed 8,000 years before that. 8,000 years. That gap is longer than the entire span of recorded history that we currently recognize and study. Think about this carefully. Everything we call history, ancient Egypt, classical Greece, the Roman Empire, the Renaissance, the Industrial Revolution, all of it fits inside that gap, which means there could have been entire civilizations, entire ages of human achievement, of art, of knowledge, of culture that rose and fell and disappeared completely before our current story of history even begins. Göbekli Tepe is not just one ancient site. It is a crack in a door that has been sealed for 12,000 years. And through that crack, we can just barely see the outline of something vast, something much older than anything we have dared to imagine. This is not just history, this is our story. These were our ancestors. The same species, the same hands, the same hunger to create something that would outlast them. And they were extraordinary, long before we gave ourselves permission to believe they could be. Let us talk about what remains buried right now, today. Ground-penetrating radar has confirmed at least 16 additional stone enclosures at Göbekli Tepe that have never been touched by an excavation tool. There are signs of structures extending far beyond the main hilltop, potentially covering an area several times larger than what is currently known. Some researchers believe there may be underground chambers beneath the excavated area, sealed rooms, passageways, perhaps even collections of objects left deliberately behind. In 2023, excavations revealed a carved stone head, a human-like face of extraordinary craftsmanship, unlike anything previously found at the site. Its eyes were wide. Its expression was impossible to read, and its age placed it at the very beginning of the site's construction. The excavation continues every season, and every season brings discoveries that force archaeologists to revise what they thought they understood. And here is something that very few people outside the academic world are talking about yet. Göbekli Tepe is not alone. Within a few hundred kilometers, similar ancient sites have now been identified. Karahan Tepe, Taş Tepeler, Karahan Tepe, an entire network of sacred sites spread across the ancient landscape of what is now Turkey and Syria, all dating to roughly the same extraordinary period. This was not one temple built by one isolated group of people. This was a culture, a world, a civilization with shared beliefs, shared symbols, shared purpose, a civilization 12,000 years old that we are only now barely beginning to understand. And the question that should keep you awake tonight is this: what other civilizations are still out there, still buried, still waiting, still holding their secrets in carved stone under thousands of years of soil and silence? What else has history been hiding from us, and for how long? Göbekli Tepe does not just challenge history, it dismantles it completely. And in its place, it offers us something more honest, more extraordinary, more deeply human. It tells us that the story of who we are is far older, far richer, and far more remarkable than we have ever been taught to believe. Because if human beings 12,000 years ago, with flint tools and bare hands and the open sky above them, could build something this magnificent, what does that say about what we are? What does it say about what we are capable of right now when we choose to reach for something greater than ourselves? So here's my question for you, and I want you to answer it in the comments right now. If 95% of Göbekli Tepe is still buried, what do you think they will find when they finally dig all the way down? Write it in the comments. I read every single one, and your answer might just be the one that turns out to be right. If this video showed you a history you were never taught in school, give it a like right now. It helps this channel reach more curious minds like yours. Share it with someone who loves ancient mysteries, because this is the kind of knowledge that deserves to travel. And subscribe, because the next video on this channel is going to take you somewhere even more impossible, even more hidden, even more real. Until then, keep asking questions, keep looking deeper, because the greatest discoveries in all of human history are still buried, and they are waiting patiently, silently, beneath the earth for us to finally find them.